Hello and welcome to a new episode of the 81 All Out podcast. This is your host, Siddhartha Vaidyanathan, and I'm joined by the regular crew, Mahesh, Ashoka, and Kartikeya. Um, all of them on Twitter, and I'll link all their handles. I'll also link Kartikeya's Substack and his page where you can find his Quick Info articles. Thank you for joining us. We are here to discuss the second test between West Indies and India in Port of Spain, and also do a bit of a series review of sorts. The second test ended in a draw, was rained off. Not the only test to be rained off this week. By the way, in case you missed much of the action from England, and also the Pakistan-Sri Lanka test is also being affected by rain. But anyway, back to Port of Spain, where India were in a really good position. Basically, they needed 8 more wickets to wrap up the test on the final day. West Indies was 76 for 2, chasing 365 is what they needed, and they were 76 for 2. The series ends 1-0, and India continue their really fine record in West Indies. I mean, India haven't lost a series in West Indies since 2002. Ever since 2006, they have gone there and they have won and done. And not only won, I mean, they have dominated West Indies, and they have on a variety of pitches, not just on pitches like Dominica or Port of Spain that we got in this series, but they've also done well across conditions over the years. And this is quite, rare. It's not easy. It's not that all teams who have gone to West Indies have, managed this kind of record that India have and managed this kind of dominance that India have. I mean, England, of course, yet to win there since 2004, and many other teams have gone there and not had really won like India have. For me, the highlight of this test was Mohammad Siraj's bowling. I mean, I'm glad he got the man of the match. It's very, very rare for a bowler to get a man of the match. I mean, in the first test, Ashwin got 12 wickets, and the player of the match was Yashasvi Jaiswal, so which was quite a shocker. I mean, when a bowler gets anything more than 10 wickets, it's quite bizarre to give a batsman the award, even if he has scored like 250 or 300 runs, I think. But so Mohammad Siraj was fantastic. Not only because of the wickets he got, but also how he was generally bowling on a day when hardly much was happening for the bowlers. And India on that third day, India were absolutely fabulous. I mean, they kept the runs down. They didn't let West Indies really score much. I mean, Paras Mamre said that West Indies were defensive, but I think that was also because the bowling was so good. They weren't allowed to get away. And Siraj was fantastic. There was a spell that he bowled post-T that was really good, where he could have got those 5 wickets then, but he ended up wrapping it up the next morning. But general thoughts, and Mahesh, go for it.
Yeah, so one of the things that I was thinking about is this is the kind of test that I really like, because especially now, I don't know if it's because we have social media and every opinion people have, we get to sort of see it. But, this whole commentary about Test cricket being in some sort of peril every time the Test match doesn't turn out to be perfect blockbuster test. So this kind of test is perfect because, there's always this perception there's going to be like a drab draw. And then all of a sudden the test opens up because the better bowling attack finds a way to sort of run through the batting lineup at some stage through the test. And that's enabled by the fact that the better bowling attack has exceptional control over the scoring, even when they're not picking up wickets. One of the classic tests that you can think of is the Adelaide 2006, for instance. All of a sudden the test opens up on the last day and eventually, ends up with a result. I was hoping it's one of those scripts that works perfectly to kind of test the patience of the so-called test fans. Unfortunately, it did end up like perfectly with a result. But I enjoyed the test match. I mean, the way India batted in the first innings, you had to grind it out. Yashasvi batted well, Rohit batted well, Kohli batted beautifully. And India bowled exceptionally well in the first innings, even before Siraj had that sort of breathtaking spell on the morning. To have that level of control, I mean, between Jadeja and Ashwin, you are not able to score more than 2 runs and over extended spells. That is just mesmerizing control. And then, when the opportunity presented itself, they were able to open it up. And then, as all good teams will do, when they got the freedom to just go haywire, they went berserk. Rohit was lucky. But, I love the test match. It's the kind of test match I really like because it tests the patience of everybody. It teases everybody saying there's going to be a drab draw and eventually it opens up. Unfortunately, just as it was opening up, the rain came and played spoilsport.
I think it's pretty clear that there are basically just two factors that a lot of people consider when they talk about this death of Test cricket and and sort of thriving Test cricket: crowds and pitches. That's it. Basically, if there are crowds for a Test match, if the pitch for the Test match is what is okay according to people's heads, which is some whatever mythical perfect Test match they have in their heads, then basically Test cricket is fine. And the West Indies India series didn't work on both counts, right? I mean, there were hardly any crowds, and the pitches perhaps did not fit in the mold of being a good Test pitch. And I mean, all of us may consider it a perfectly fine Test pitch. I mean, there have been so many Test matches on these kind of wickets which have produced results. And eventually you may say if a match produces a result, which this well could have if not for the rain, then it's a good Test match. But I don't think that's considered at all, which is a shame, right? I mean...
No, there are two points to make. One is the fact that a good Test match can be, defined in a broad range of ways. I mean, that's one factor. But it's not like Test cricket has not seen a plethora of dull matches. It's happened always in history. In fact, Test cricket has never been more exciting than it is now. If you're talking about results, if you're talking about pace of scoring, if you're talking about the rate of wicket taking, Test cricket has never been better. In fact, I was just tweeting the other day that Sri Lanka has had one draw since August 2014. The Test matches hosted in Sri Lanka has had one draw. How many people who believe that somehow getting result-oriented matches is better for Test cricket are following cricket in Sri Lanka? Like the so-called Test cricket fans, I am sure do not care about Sri Lanka playing anyone beyond the big three. So this narrative is entirely flawed. It's entirely self-serving, and it's just it is revealing insecurities of the fans more than the cricket, and even like assuming. Like you get a blockbuster sort of test, you get everything right? There is crowds, the pitch is fine or whatever. There's always the thing about, okay, this batting is not good. They can't play seam. If you get 150 all out, the modern day batsman can't play seam. Or if let's say Ashwin bowls 40 overs and doesn't get enough wicket, then it's like, okay, some other mystery bowler from the past would have run through the
he's a home bully.
I don't know. It's just like... I don't understand the level of insecurity about Test cricket from the so-called Test cricket fans. I mean, if you're a cynic and you argue this case, then that makes sense, right? But if you claim yourself to be a Test cricket fan, but you don't really like Test cricket, then what are you talking about? I don't get it.
Yeah, I mean, there was this Sky Sports segment where Ian Ward is talking to Kumar Sangakkara and Dinesh Karthik. I mean, which they they uploaded as a podcast also. And Ian Ward is basically saying you had this fantastic Test match in Headingley. Everyone was buzzing. The Ashes were alive. And then you switch on the TV to watch an India-West Indies test. How do you reconcile with that? And Dinesh Karthik is also saying, this is the problem with Test cricket. The reason, West Indies infrastructure is so bad and all. I'm like, hello? What? What the hell? Can't you at least put one line in there and say that, hello, it's fine, man. They're playing fine. The Test match is fine. No, the issue is, I think it's this difference between cricket and the sociological event, right? Like an event, like a public fair, or basically like a mega event that you would go to in the weekend. And people expect Test match cricket to be that event. And irrespective of how good or bad the cricket is, the idea is that it's not an event as it should be, and so it's dying. Like that way, domestic cricket everywhere in the world is already dead, right? Hardly anyone goes to domestic cricket.
Domestic cricket has always been dead since the advent of TV.
Yeah.
Before TV, everybody had to go. It was a social event, communal event. Now it is nothing. Uh, so yeah. Anyway, I mean, carrying on from what Mahesh said, I think all this is also some kind of a conflation, or they are extending the sorrow of. First of all, I think there is this newfound sorrow that Caribbean cricket, the lovers have woken up after a long while, and they are now crying, saying that Caribbean cricket is on its deathbed, and it's not because it didn't qualify for the World Cup. Boss, it's been slowly dying since the 90s. So they have carried on all that grief into this test match.
Also, Caribbean cricket, also West Indies not qualifying for the World Cup, I think is a great thing, because it shows that other teams like Netherlands and Scotland and all these other teams that played in that qualifier are just getting better, and they are coming to the level of the top teams. Isn't that a good thing?
It is good thing for them, but for these Caribbean cricket lovers, in quotes. That's why they are crying, because in their childhood they saw Viv Richards, or they didn't even see Viv Richards. I mean, half of them I don't think are that old enough. I don't know how to reconcile with all this grief.
No. There are two kinds. One is this 50 plus category that will say, this is not the West Indies of my childhood and all, because the West Indies of their childhood is basically some mythical team that is living in their imagination, which is, won every single match in 2 days. But the second category is also there, which is these younger lot who are basically, pining for a time that they were never even born. Because ever since I've been watching cricket, West Indies have been on decline, man. What is this great West Indies thing and all?
It's not the West Indies of your childhood, but it's also not the India of your childhood. No, what about that?
Yeah. So which they should be happy about, you mean?
No. It's not the India of my childhood because other teams are weak.
That's like a neat little bow, no? Like it's like when India do well, it's because other teams are crap. When India do poorly, it's because India are not as good as they used to be.
So this test match, that's one thing that it was interesting. This time I do agree with Mahesh. It was like an amazing test match because this is how 80 or 90% of test matches that I've seen have gone. Basically bowling is like, good bowling is like problem solving, right? Like you solve the problem that is in front of you and you work on it till you get answers. And this Indian attack is like very, very good. Even though they carry two people with like relatively zero or near zero test experience, which is Unadkar and Mukesh Kumar. But still, Ashwin, Jadeja and now Siraj are, superior class of bowlers to what West Indies have in their attack, which is not bad, which is an attack of like 650 to 700 wickets, test wickets, which many countries in the world today, do they have it? England have it, Australia have it, India have it. Other countries, I'm not sure whether they have it or not, but that's a very experienced, bowling attack. Against that, you have Kohli scoring 100, you have Rohit scoring 250s, you have Jadeja scoring a 50, Ashwin scoring a 50. The Indian bowling didn't tire. They bowled 117 overs. They gave nothing away. Ashwin, Jadeja bowled around 60, 70 overs out of those. They gave like under 2 runs per over, if I am not wrong. So it was like brilliant to watch. What I really admired is, we were all talking about transitions, team in transitions. This Indian team nearly found a way to win in this match. And against it was a pitch, it was very flat. There was rain almost like 2.5 days, 3 days, there was rain. Despite all that, and despite a competent West Indies batting lineup, these guys found a way to nearly win. So that's amazing. And that needs to be pointed out. And when I had the fortune of pointing it out, some people told me that this is against a Ranji-like team that they are, bossing against like India is bossing against a Ranji-like team. It's not true.
The response to that I recommend is that, Viv Richards and Andy Roberts and all that, they used to also boss it against an Ranji-type Indian team. But it's true.
It's not true, dude. Legendary Sunil Gavaskar, legendary Gundappa Vishwanath.
Yeah, I know. Sunil Gavaskar opening the bowling, man. How can that be a good team?
Yeah, anyway, so that's what happened in those 5 days. If you want to describe these 5 days, this has been like a very competitive test for India, and it has been, it's a test of survival for West Indies. They would be really happy that this ended in a draw, because if India had another 60, 70 overs, I mean, it would have been like very bad for the West Indies.
West Indies might have lost on the final day, but I think it was also a great chance for them to, bat through it and save it. And I think, in a way, I mean, as much as, they might be relieved with the draw, but I think they would also feel a bit of disappointment that they didn't get a chance to actually bat through that time and, put forth that, they're not as weak as it was made out to be in the first test with a 3-day defeat. I mean, they're actually a good lineup, and I think if
they were never a bad team. I mean, that weak a team. They were never that weak a team, even
we
before
know
the
that.
series.
But I'm saying for themselves, and for their, I would think they would have liked to play on that final day. And if it meant, being 7 down or 8 down and drawing the match, I think that would have been a huge victory for them to take forward. I mean, even though they lost the series.
Yeah. But one thing though, so I don't know the internal politics that happens between the islands and the cricket management, but they could have at least known that. I mean, they know that before the series that India will not have Bumrah and probably are resting Shami. So they could have actually kept the matches in the venues where, they had the advantage of pace also, right? So the first test was a mistake, complete mistake. They didn't have, and unfortunately, Cornwall also got injured, so they could have.
I think the last time India played a test in Barbados was probably in 2002. I mean, in my memory, I probably am missing something in between. But yeah, India rarely go to Barbados and play, which is traditionally a good venue for fast bowling. And India don't go to they haven't. Maybe it's like their rotation policy and all. They have to also keep up. And plus, who knows about the other politics. But yeah, Kartikeya.
No, see, look, firstly, there are 2 teams which play in every cricket match. So it doesn't make sense to say that one is good or one is bad. West Indies are what, the 8th, 9th best test team in the world right now? 8th, let's say. Yeah, I think overall they're a bit better than Bangladesh. Though in Asia, I think Bangladesh are probably better. And India are the first, second best team in the world right now. So this series is like, first and second playing 8th or 9th. I mean, there's always, if you have 8 or 9 test teams, you're always going to have that series at some point. And I mean, look, India have been 6th or 7th before. India have been the mid-table side before. And they've gone to West Indies when they were weak. Like after Ambrose retired, after Walsh retired in April 2001. West Indies basically had nobody, like no bowling, no nothing. And India went there and they lost, Even in 2006, India barely won 1 test match. That too was on an absolute minefield in Jamaica, thanks to 2 innings by Rahul Dravid, which could have frankly ended at any point, and India could have ended up losing that also. So this is not part of the point of doing this kind of podcast is to sort of try and put some perspective on what the picture is of testing. And there's always going to be teams like that. Because everybody cannot be first and second rank in the world. Everybody cannot be equal. I mean, and there's all this sort of rose-tinted nostalgia about back in the day. I mean, there are people who are saying things like, Andy Roberts is the best fast bowler in the world in 1974 when he came to India. Like, he was literally he had played 1 test match before he came to India in 1974. Now, take the best fast bowler you can think of today. Like, the absolute, the most thunderous fast bowling debut in recent times. Say, Archer, for example, in that 2019. Like, if you said that Archer is the best fast bowler in the world in 2019, that's not plausible, no? He was not even the best fast bowler in the England team in 2019, in his first or second. But, nostalgia does dumb things to you. So the past always appears like, I don't know how to describe it. It appears sort of, whitewashed. And so this West Indies bowling, for instance, Holder, Gabriel, Roach, and Joseph. Joseph is a really wonderful bowler. One of the sad things about this tour, which you touched on, is that the West Indies have got like a variety of pitches. Like they've got fast bowlers pitches and they've got spinners pitches. And like traditionally, when the tours used to happen in like April or May, then they used to play in like Savannah Park and Barbados and places like that where the pitches were quick. There are other places like Trinidad and all where the pitches are not so quick, traditionally. And so we get to play there. But nowadays it doesn't make any difference also, because even on fast bowling, India have better fast bowlers than the West Indies now, which is not to say that West Indies have bad fast bowlers, to say that India have really good fast bowlers. So, and I think West Indies are also like, West Indies no longer sending their batsmen, especially to England, to play county cricket. There all these Gordon Greenwich and Viv Richards and who else? Richie Richardson and all these people, and Lara, of course. They all went and played county cricket as professionals and sort of developed their defensive technique over there. They got a lot of experience over there. And, in the 70s, 80s, both Pakistan and West Indies sent a lot of players there and benefited from it. Actually, ironically, benefited far more than England actually benefited from it, because they used to put out better teams than England in the 70s and 80s. But that stopped now. So for instance, I think Gordon Greenwich played for West Indies before he played for Barbados. He played a test match for West Indies before he played a first-class match for Barbados. So, that's not possible now. All these current West Indies players are all playing in their, whatever it's called now, Shield tournament. So, but that's just history. That's going to keep happening. They'll be going through bad times and good times, and if they survive, they'll have good times again where they'll win. It's not as if, I don't think it's right to belittle a game, if just because India are winning it, or to belittle the opposition because India are winning. India are good. The current Indian openers, for example, this is something that strikes me every time you watch India play now. Just that, and this is again a matter of fact. It's a matter of historical record that, in the 20th century, if you had an Indian batsman starting to play Test cricket, and this is something came up last time we talked also, is that if they would be lucky if they faced like an hour of fast bowling in a day in 2012. So they're just by the time they become like Test top order players, they've just not faced enough fast bowling. It's not a question of being good or bad against them. They just don't have experience, so they've never seen it before. But you compare that with Jaiswal and Rohit Sharma and all, and these guys have played so much fast bowling in their life. So by the time they start opening the batting for India in a Test match, so it's not that unfamiliar, And this sort of part of the nostalgia is also because, like, way back when foreign players used to be really, really foreign, Now they're not. Now everybody plays in the IPL. Everybody sees everybody on cable all the time. So they're not so strange anymore. There's a sort of I think part of sort of following a team which is doing well is sort of learning to have some perspective about the game and the state of the game and the state of other teams. Who's up, who's down. It's part of, there will be periods when India lose again. I know Ashoka was saying that, even with these fast bowlers, India are good. But yeah, Ashwin and Jadeja are not going to be there forever. And, you're not going to grow like a bowler like Bumrah or Shami on a tree. There will be times where winning Test matches will become very difficult for India. it won't be as easy as it has been recently. So, I mean, they're good. They're really good. I mean, the average ball which India play now is played at a far higher level. They don't bat and ball than it was at any time in the 20th century or any time in the 21st for that matter, before, say, about 2014, 2015. So, I mean, I think one of the sort of the things I thought was odd about the second test was West Indies bowling first after winning the toss. I mean, I think they sort of wanted to, and I think it worked for them because I think they set out to basically get some points from this game.
Points as in World Test Championship points.
Yeah, to collect some points and all that.
Yeah. Got it.
And to not lose. I mean, I think, you have to try and win, but I think you also have to try not to lose. No? I mean, it's perfectly honorable to compete. To not let the other side win. Why? They're not there to just make up the numbers, no? So I thought the way they batted in the first innings, for example, Siraj got some wonderful movement with the second new ball. And then he was able to move the ball both ways, in swing, out swing, leg cutters, off cutters, everything. And it was too good for the lower of West Indies second half of the West Indies batting. That's okay. So, I mean, if they lost their last 5 wickets for 26 runs or something like that. That will happen. But they did a lot on the third day? From Brathwaite and Athanaze and all those players, they did well.
Yeah, I mean, 2 points. One is I just checked the record and figured India had played a test in Barbados in 2011 on that tour. So that was the match that Ishant got 10 wickets. And it was a really good match for fast bowling. Fidel Edwards, Ravi Rampal, all of them played and got wickets. So that is one. So yeah, they after 2002 they played in 2011 and then they didn't play. The other thing about domestic cricket is
sorry. Now that you mention it, I want to bring this up because one of the features of watching cricket in the West Indies is that you can actually hear what people are saying in the audience. And I have this distinct memory of there being this one spectator in the stands who's for 45 minutes, he's standing next to the TV camera guy and he's screaming at Edwards to take off the handbrake, Fiddy, take off the handbrake, And it's at the end of the commentary, I remember Bishop was on commentary and he was really, really annoyed at this. It's just just keep quiet. You made your point. Just keep quiet.
Yeah. There was I remember that people from the stands used to coach the team. And that was quite fun actually to listen to. In fact, the relationship between the crowds and the West Indian cricketers is quite charming and quite amazing. I remember a time when in 2006, there was a game and Ramnaresh Sarwan used to play for West Indies then. And he, got out to a pretty poor shot. And then after the game, he's generally their players are just walking around and all, and the crowd, many people from the crowd are on the field. And there was this slightly older gentleman who went and he actually completely chastised Sarwan for playing that shot. And, my immediate thought was that, okay, why would Sarwan even take such nonsense? But Sarwan, perhaps he knew that person before, or perhaps for whatever reason, he was genuinely listening to him and he was trying to explain to him why he played that shot. And he was talking about what led him to play that shot and all. And I found that very interesting, to have a sort of a conversation between a fan and a player at that level was quite interesting. Anyway, the other thing I was thinking about when you mentioned the domestic cricket angle is that I just saw a video today, in fact, on Cricket Info, where Deep Das Gupta was suggesting that West Indies players should play domestic cricket in India. Why not open up the Ranji Trophy for few players from overseas, and players from West Indies and other countries can actually come and be overseas professionals. Yes, it will mean that you're depriving an Indian player of that one slot, but it could also be such a huge experience for a cricketer from West Indies coming and playing a season of Ranji in India. I mean, they will get to experience a variety of conditions.
All my ideas are getting stolen. All my ideas are
Oh,
getting
okay. That's
stolen.
your idea. Okay. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So,
This is my time to say I told it that time only.
yeah.
Like Ashoka
So-
and all, he has like an archive of a podcast, so he could probably like pull up like exactly when he said it. Like,
Yeah. Even though he might have cut it himself, but he has it. Director's cut. He's there. Yeah. So yeah, I mean, just like in IPL, people come from different countries and play. Why not open up the Ranji too? I mean, that will only be beneficial, right, for both the Ranji teams as well as players from abroad.
yeah.
Because
what
Alonso,
Ranji team would not like to have Alzari Joseph, man? They probably win the Ranji Trophy if he comes and plays for his sister.
Sure, absolutely, yeah, he'll probably be the best bowler of the season. Yeah.
I was just thinking, even in this West Indies team, can't Shai Hope make a comeback? I know, like we were talking about Zach Crawley earlier. Like the record between Zach Crawley and Shai Hope is not too different. And if anything, England is a better team than West Indies. So I was hoping he'll come back, but it looks like the door is shut.
So Shai Hope is what, a one-day specialist now? Because I don't think he plays that much T20 also.
Yeah, he's a one-day specialist. Yes, that's what it is. It is.
Oh, okay. So in the dyingest format, he's the dyingest batsman, I think. Okay. Very good. Start, or as Ashoka says, he's stat pad in one day.
He averages like 50 or something in one day, man.
Yeah. He's a very good one-day batsman. Yeah.
Part of the point is like the test match is happening now. You have to watch it where it is and how it is. No, I mean, you cannot say you cannot go in and watch a test match with say, I have this expectation. I want this. I want that. If I was playing, I would do this. I would do that. I can't do that. No, I mean, you'll always be only disappointed if you do that. It's better to watch it and try to describe what's going on.
Even the description, right? Like there is a lot actually to talk about West Indies cricket from the last 10 years itself. I mean, but the problem is that people go back suddenly to, West Indies cricket in the 80s and forget that. In the last 10 years itself, the whole thing of West Indies, there was a time in which they really spruced up their pitches. They went with they were using, the decision to use the Duke's ball in West Indies domestic and West Indies cricket, spruce up their pitches. Then there was a series in England which they won so impressively. And then if you compare that to that Sri Lanka series where Sri Lanka and West Indies had a drawn series, again, like sort of really spicy pitches for that test, especially Barbados. I think they played a day-night test there that is extremely spicy.
That was an exceptional test, yeah.
Yeah. And then which Sri Lanka won, right? In the end.
There was one, they chased down a score and they win. The series was drawn 1-1. Yeah.
So fantastic series. So there is a lot of immediate context itself to discuss this series through. Like if you have followed West Indies cricket for like 5-6 years, there is a lot to discuss, but the discourse never goes there. In almost like even the niche sort of podcasts and niche, the journalists who should be knowing this, they themselves don't talk about this. So that's the disappointing part, because then then what? Then you're not discussing anything. No, like how can you compare? Like suddenly go back to 80s and say this is how West Indies was, this is how they were. That's it. That's it. Gone. Terrible.
Yeah, I was watching Kemar Roach. Actually, this is very nice because the West Indies Test match also, most of the match happens at a very nice time in India, so it's quite nice. So I was watching like Kemar Roach and like this. Yashasvi Jaiswal. He had Yashasvi Jaiswal basically in a corner. He had that ring on the offside, and like Jaiswal was basically stuck. And like 3 or 4 times, like Jaiswal got an edge, and like once the slip stopped it, and another time it went through for 4, and the third time. And I was watching that, and like, the score was like some crazy, like over 100 for 1 or something like that, 100 for no loss. And I just could not get the whole sort of image of Javagal Srinath out of my head. It's like India getting hammered and like Srinath bowling and getting edges and nothing going to hand, and like the score mounting. Like this is the test cricket of my school days, like especially overseas test cricket of my school days. So I watched Kemar Roach and I felt really sort of a lot of sympathy for it. He's a terrific bowler. Poor guy. He's like, he's bowling into a whirlwind, man. I mean, there's like, when his batsmen play, they're sort of strangled by Ashwin and Jadeja, and then this Siraj comes and gets some late movement and then takes 5 wickets in no time. And like they with the India bowling where they can bowl 120 high quality overs. Like he's bowling into these batsmen. I'm like, what is going on? Some 21-year-old is coming and hitting edges and they're going for
Even in the first innings, when Kohli was just getting started, he could have. I mean, Roach could have gotten him easily twice or thrice. It was that millimeter close to the edge. I mean, the first 20 balls that Kohli faced, the balls he faced against Roach, he could have easily gone out, and he didn't. And then Kohli played, a superb one.
Really?
That's it.
Yeah, no chances afterwards. I think he had like 94% control by the time he got to his 100 or something. So basically, there's no seam movement there on this thing. So it's a very, very true wicket. Very nice to bat on. So I don't know. I mean, I suppose it's a good defensive ploy to put the opposition in because it takes time out of the game. Like it's basically West Indies did the opposite of what England did at Old Trafford. Which is that England had to take 20 wickets, so they put Australia in on a flat pitch. To sort of try and do whatever they could, like, to start taking wickets as early as possible in the match. So West Indies did the opposite and it worked. But I don't know. I think if they had batted first, West Indies could have scored a few more runs because I think the ball wouldn't have turned so much on the first day. So Ashwin and Jadeja might have been easier to play.
Or if like Kohli would have been out, I think if India scored 280 instead of 430, then this would have been a very interesting match.
I know you'll get mad at me for saying this, but if Kohli had got out, Rahane would probably have run 8 runs.
Because he knew that that's when the team needed it.
No.
He already
Rahane wouldn't have.
Hey,
it's a
he
very
came in
India-like pitch, man. Rahane does not perform on those kind of pitches. He needs...
he needs tough situation and tough...
Alien conditions.
Okay, fair enough.
No, but I think the other thing that they were probably...
No, sorry, talking about Rahane, I felt really sorry for Pujara. Of all series to miss out, he missed out on this series. He could have probably notched up 200s. And it's quite unfortunate. I mean, this whole sort of looking through the prism of expecting something, right? Like, we did extensive sort of number crunching on this, that this generation of cricketers in general, and particularly Pujara and Rahane to some extent, have basically played on very different kind of wickets compared to their predecessors. So the 43, 45, 40, 38 averages that you see here are not comparable to, let's say, the previous era. So in many ways, I think Pujara got hard done by the fact that the benchmarks we still use for batsmen are from a different era. Of course, we were lucky enough to get like someone like Kohli, for instance, who was able to average 50 even in an era like this. But you take Kohli out, and Rohit has had a second coming, and he's been exceptional since that. But it's not easy to average 50 in this era. To average more than 40 like the way Pujara did is actually an exceptional achievement. And I feel like his career, I mean, I didn't mention this in the last podcast as well, but I feel like that his career has been unfairly cut short if this is the end of it.
No, I mean, he would have still played. I think the way he got out, that ramp shot killed any little sympathy anybody had. The guy, of all the shots he had to play, he played a ramp shot. And then that angered people even more, seeing Pujara play.
But I don't think selectors do that stuff. No, I mean they don't take decisions based on one shot and all that.
I am not sure.
Didn't you see Ashoka? Ashwin played an effortless ramp shot in that.
Yes.
Magnificent shot it was.
This whole perception of Dravid got to play Murli and Vaughan and higher quality of spin. But now we know how good Nathan Lyon is. When Pujara was playing against Nathan Lyon in say 2017, The thing is, a lot of people didn't yet know how good Nathan Lyon was. But now that you know how good Nathan Lyon is, at least we should retrospectively at least credit Pujara for that, right? For like the phenomenal series in 2017 and 2018 too. Yeah.
And both India and in Australia. I mean, Nathan Lyon is a far more potent threat against India than Shane Warne ever was. I mean, of course, he was a much better bowler overall.
He's a finger spinner. In India, that's extremely effective. But
post DRS.
Yeah, but that's not the point. That's not the point. No, it's that the quality of spin Dravid faced was not better than the quality of spin Pujara faced. He didn't face Shane Warne every day. He didn't face Muralidharan every day either. The average spinner in the 2000s was not as good as not much better than the average spinner today. And the average spinner today has got DRS. You want to see what happened with for India's batsmen against DRS. Look at what happened to India in Sri Lanka in 2008. Not just that all of them were troubled by Mendes and Murli, but look at the number of times India reviewed decisions and had failed reviews, and look at the number of times Sri Lanka reviewed decisions and had successful reviews. I looked at this once, I forget the figures, but it's remarkable. It was like their assumptions of playing spin bowling were only different. So those assumptions would not work now. I mean, this is a point actually really well made by what's his name, Atherton, when England were in India last. Like, I remember he wrote this one column. I think
about DRS. Yeah,
for the Times, and he was saying that all your pre-DRS wisdom of playing spin no longer applies in the age of DRS. These guys have had to work it out like in real time, and they have. And these are not bad players. These are really, really top players. But they're good players. They're good enough players. They're making enough runs. But that's not really why India are winning. No, I mean, they're winning because they are bowling. And I don't know. At the risk of repeating myself, that's not always going to be the case. So enjoy it while it lasts. Is what I think. If you're an India fan.
Are you saying with all the money in the world, we can't keep creating these bowling machines? Is that what you're saying? We are not going to win ICC titles, even if we clone Dhoni.
ICC titles anyway we didn't win, even with the whatever we had.
I know, that's what I'm saying. And then he's saying be prepared for worse.
What? India, I'm saying be prepared for Kaverappa. Kaverappa is coming.
With what Kaverappa? Saini was also there. I was interesting that Mukesh made it ahead of Saini. Saini is in the squad, right? I mean, he was in the squad for West Indies.
Yeah, he is, I think, in the squad.
Yeah, so I saw him. In fact, carrying drinks to the players. So, and given that he has already played tests, he played like the Gabba test. So it was good. Mukesh got in. But yeah, I mean, I'm saying India goes to South Africa and Australia in not too distant future, and with this attack, it's going to be hard in both those countries.
Winning that Gabba test is going to be like a real, millstone around all these people. None of them are going to have long test careers.
First of all, I don't think
Natarajan will probably never play a test again.
Yeah.
Saini may or may not play a test again. Washington Sundar may or may not play a test again.
Saini might, because given that
Shardul shouldn't have played a test again.
Oh, come on!
Hey, come on, man!
What is this blasphemy?
Yeah, what is this? But Shardul is like a linchpin in the transition.
Sentiments, man. You're offending sentiments now.
Yeah. So no, I'm saying the Gabba test, that whole team will never play a test match again, right? That is sure. So that was the last time. That was the first and last time the 11 played together. Yeah.
Poor fellows.
No, next time, anyways, there is news of Bumrah getting well. There is news of Prasidh Krishna getting well. So
and Shami is still around.
Yeah, Shami is still around. So if we are lucky,
What do you mean Prasidh Krishna getting well? As if he's some regular. He hardly played.
Dude, the future India bowling lineup is going to read Vidwat Kavirappa, Prasidh Krishna, Vijay Kumar Vishak, Vijay Kumar Vaishak. So this is the Karnataka lineup waiting in the wings.
Yeah,
Okay.
I know. We had that in 1997.
This is the Abhimanyu Mithun. This is the Abhimanyu Mithun, Srinath Aravind. Who's the other one? Vinay
Kumar. Forget that.
Legend.
This is the Srinath, Prasad, Dodda Ganesh, David Johnson era. Back again. Yeah.
Yeah. They should have just had at least one test they should have had in which, India's lineup had Srinath, Prasad, Dodda Ganesh, David Johnson, Sunil Joshi and Anil Kumble.
So I don't know if you guys saw
and
this.
And then with Rahul Dravid on top and
Sujit Somsundar, don't forget.
And maybe Sujit Somsundar opening the batting.
Vijay Bharadwaj.
And, just for fun, Vijay Bharadwaj also.
Yeah.
You
Why
have
not?
only a keeper. A keeper. Who's a keeper from Karnataka?
Sayyid
Tilak
Kirmani.
Naidu.
Tilak Naidu, the budget Sachin.
Okay. Anyway, so back to the test. One of the things I want, which we had discussed after the first test also, and before too, after the World Test Championship, was about the transition, right? And so, was curious to find out about how Mukesh Kumar does in this test, and how Unadkat bowls in this test, and all that. And it's interesting how having got used to watching this era of Indian fast bowling, which is perhaps the best, which is definitely the best Indian fast bowling that there's ever been. Ishant, Shami, Umesh, Bumrah, and all that. And then to have someone like Mukesh come in, it's sort of you have to recalibrate, right? Again, it's the same thing. Like it's expectations versus reality. And initially, when you see Mukesh, I was like, he seems like this Ranji, this bowler that you would see in Ranji teams. Like every Ranji team would have this really steady bowler who comes in, who hits that same pace, sort of a similar pace, and mixes it around. Doesn't really hurry the batsman too much compared to say what Siraj can do, because he can push it up to the late 130s, 140s even, and what definitely Shami can do. But then after that, the more you he sort of grew on me when I'm watching him. And by the second innings, he himself also has to get used to the rhythm of the game, the rhythm of the conditions, the opposition, everything, right? So by the second innings, and I was talking about that fourth evening, when, India had declared that they were trying to bowl West Indies out. He was hitting a really nice spell. Like there was this period of 3-4 overs when he was getting a really good rhythm. The pace was around like the early 130s, occasionally mid 130s, got 135, 136. But the way he was mixing up his length, he was bowling to Chandapal, getting it full at times, getting it slightly short of a length at times, trying to hurry him, making sure, because Chandapal also has this tendency of moving across the stumps, right? So there's always a candidate for that LBW. At least he seems to be a candidate for that LBW. So trying to, get that ball to slightly move in. I liked watching him bowl. And it sort of tells you that how easy it is to sort of create this assessment of a bowler. And but how important it is to keep watching every ball and every spell he bowls, because you can actually see that there are several layers to him. So what do you make of Mukesh and
Before that, and before the series and during the series, I think even Srikanth in his YouTube channel was arguing for the inclusion of Umran Malik and in the squad purely because he had the pace and whatnot. So my whole thing is with Mukesh and Unadkat, they may not have the pace. I think they are distinctly 6 or 7 kilometers slower than Siraj, but they have very, very good control. They are not, your typical debutant. So they have done really well in Ranji, especially Unadkat. So even though they are down on pace, they offer control, which is, which at least to me is a better weapon than pace. Pace, of course, we see what Mark Wood has done in the Ashes. But even Mark Wood has very good control. I mean, if you bowl 150 to the pads of Steve Smith, he's going to whack you all day. So control is a better, prism through which we can view these two bowlers. And on that front, I think Mukesh is very good. Considering that he's on his debut, and Unadkat is just his third test match, I think, third or fourth. So he's also very good. And these guys have earned their stripes in domestic cricket, and they have earned their place in the 11. So I was happy that they did well. Unadkat didn't get a wicket, but he was very attacking, I think, in the first innings, especially to Athanas. He was very attacking, and he could have actually got wickets because he was bringing the ball in, making Athanas flick to the mid wicket, and they had a short mid wicket, so a couple of balls went to left or right of Kohli there. He could have had him easily. So, these are not disappointing finds as they are made out to be. And Umran Malik, I do agree, he's very quick, but I don't think he has the control yet. He has not played first class much. I would really want him ideally to play at least 25-30 games before we even evaluate him as a test option. Maybe for T20s, ODIs, I don't have a problem.
No, and I think the health of the Ranji system is one of the factors, is definitely like how these bowlers come into test cricket and look pretty good. It's like Siraj, of course, is a standout example here. Like ever since he debuted and he came in, he's been like, it's almost like, he's taken to test cricket like fish to water. He's there. He's definitely up there. There's not been really a time where he's had to adjust. But even Unadkat and Mukesh, who are so young in their careers, and fine, you're playing West Indies, which is not one of the best teams in the world, but it's still a test team. And these are still, good batters you're bowling to. But they seem set. They seem to know what to do. There's obviously clear planning, but there's also like very good execution that's happening. It's not easy to do what they are doing, and I was really impressed.
Yeah. Chandapal has a double hundred against Zimbabwe on one such flat wicket. So if your bowling is not up there, he will pile on runs. To keep him quiet and to keep a batsman of Brathwaite's caliber quiet requires skill on this condition, and these are skillful bowlers, and that's the point.
So, watching Mukesh, gave me like two very different perspectives. One is the thing that Kitty's been pointing out for the last few minutes, that we're going to have a bowling attack which is not as penetrative as this. And, with all due respect, he's not in the same league as Shami or Bumrah or Siraj, right? At this stage, at least. That is one factor to consider. The second one is that, both Unadkat and him had exceptional control, as Ashoka pointed out. This is something that, I happened to coincidentally sit next to MSK Prasad in Gaul once, when, Shikhar Dhawan made that like blistering 180 or something on day one, right? That was Hardik Pandya's debut test. Prasad was sitting next to us in the box. It's a long story on how we landed ourselves there. But Shiva, our friend Atlas danced on Twitter, and I was sitting there. And MSK Prasad mentioned this point that a lot of us who played in the 90s would love to play for a team like this. When you play for a team which is so strong, it is much easier for you to sort of hit the ground running. It's much easier for you to sort of be not have the nervousness that you have, you can express yourself a lot more confidently and so on. And he believes that all of these players who come through the system now benefit from the fact that they play for a strong team. And that clearly shows in the way Mukesh bowled, for instance. One, he had control. And even when he had control, he was able to try those $1 million balls. The ball that he bowled to Athanas was literally him trying to bowl like pretty much the perfect ball possible, right? For his pace. And he tried that quite a few times. In fact, a couple of times he bowled some really wide ones as well in the process of trying to bowl the $1 million ball. But he has a control, but he also has a confidence to sort of go for their extravagant ball every now and then. In fact, if you look at all the recent debutants, I'm not saying this as an insult or something, but Shardul is perhaps the exception that he still tries to bowl that full ball to sort of get LBW and bowled.
Be very careful what you're saying, by the way. Continue.
He's probably the only bowler who doesn't focus on control. He still has got the temptation to bowl the sucker ball way too frequently for a test class bowler. But every other Indian debutant bowler who's come through the system recently, whether they have pace or not, whether they are penetrative enough or not, the basic sense of control and the basic sense of what is good test match bowling, it's evident even from the first test itself. I mean, it is a reflection of the strength of the Ranji system. It's a reflection of the fact that they play for a strong team, but it's also a very good reflection of the support staff that we have, that they are able to impart these basic sort of discipline pretty much from the get-go when they start their test career.
That is the one problem this team has or will have. They don't have the seam bowling all-rounder options outside of Hardik and this guy. Someone will come and say Rajvardhan, Hunger Gaker and all, but anyways, that is a thing for the future, not now. So
yeah, it's actually Australia that way. It's quite envious to see them have Green and Mitchell Marsh and playing both of them together. Come on, man, this is unfair. What is this? You can't have two such cricketers in your test team. I mean, India would love to have even one of that level, and Shardul is the closest they have, and they play him whenever they can.
But to be fair, Australia doesn't need two. And the fact that they had two actually complicated the situation for them. And they ended up with a suboptimal selection.
Yeah, but this is like Nathan Lyon is not there, so their balance is all wonky anyways. Coming to our bowlers, this is all India A alums. Like, Navdeep Saini has played 15 India A matches since 2018. Mohammad Siraj has played 14. Mukesh Kumar has played 5. He's only started playing for India A since 2022. All of them are like India A alums. So, and Umran Malik is not as far-fetched as we seem to think, or we would like to think, because he's also been picked for India A. I mean, there is no doubt that the selectors really value pace. This is why Varun Aaron was picked, and this is why all these bowlers are picked.
Munaf Patel.
Munaf Patel is different class, man. Munaf Patel is a classy seam bowler.
He had pace and control. My goodness, deadly combination.
Oh God! After Rahane, next is I should not mention few people on this podcast. Rahane, Munaf Patel, and all. That's it. Then it will go into rabbit holes that will never end.
Munaf Patel was a class bowler.
But Varun Aaron, I remember he was the one who bounced Stuart Broad, no?
Yes.
He hit him.
Yeah. Concussed, poor fellow.
No,
he didn't just bounce him, he hit him.
Some pronunciation guide here. Varun Arun.
That is Ganguly, right? Varun Arun.
Shekhar Dhawan.
Oh God. Shekhar Diwan. Yeah. Anyway, I'm running out of time, so let us wrap up this podcast soon. Karthikeya, you can finish your point. Yeah.
The problem with Umran Malik is that he has played India A, and he's been hammered. Like, he played against New Zealand A, and his India A record is 2 for 220 at 4.5 an over. This is he has it's one thing to bowl in the IPL or in some T20, which is 2 over spells where everybody's trying to smash you. That's not test bowling, no. But about these bowlers and this debut, this is not a good. This was a really flat pitch. This was not a pitch for fast bowling. This was a batting pitch. This was this pitch actually reminded me of if you read all these old books, like Tony Cozier's 50 Years of West Indies Cricket, or one of those old books. And I think you get these descriptions of pitches in those books. The pitches used to be hard, fast, and even paced and true. Like there's no sense of seam movement or anything like that. This is like just like playing on concrete basically. This
but
pitch is like.
isn't that a good actually test for a bowler like this rather than having a spicy pitch? Isn't it good to actually test a bowler out here too?
Yeah, but they're not going to play on that kind of pitch and test cricket that often. No, I mean, in England actually now in baseball era, England
Now
are
they
preparing
may.
flat pitches.
Yeah.
Now they're preparing roads. In India, they're not going to prepare that kind of pitch anymore. Because that kind of pitch also breaks. No, I mean it cracks after then late in the match. So and if it doesn't crack, it's like a road forever. Like it was like one of those 600 plays 700 pitches. But the other thing is that in the first innings, especially, West Indies were not really going after the bowling and they were batting for time. So Mukesh and Unadkat and all these players, they got to bowl like without getting hassled. I mean, the Bairstow and all will go after them if they ever play against them. Even if they play Ranji Trophy against one of these India players, like they'll go after. Cheteshwar Pujara will hammer these bowlers. At least he'll go after them for sure. They are good bowlers. So I mean, it's okay. I don't know. There's a reason they were there. There's a reason that they've been in the India A side for so long, and they're being earmarked as the sort of the next level, next generation. So some of if the India A stuff, I'm curious to where India A are playing next and who they're going to play. I mean, the last they played was 22-23 season. New Zealand came to India. That was also one of those shadow series.
Shadow tours,
Yeah. So the England Lions or whatever they're called, their version of England A, they should be coming after the World Cup because England are coming in early 2024.
No, India are going to South Africa in late 20, like for the Boxing Day time.
Oh, after the World Cup. So India A should be going there, no?
Ideally.
But when will they go now? That's the problem, no? Because the World Cup is going on. Actually, there must be that.
World Cup ends, man. By November, World Cup is over. So they should go in early December. They should go.
Yeah. I mean, hopefully they'll get to play against some South African fast bowler who's trying to come back into the test team, Olivier or somebody will hopefully play for India and.
Yeah, they should. But I mean, unfortunately, that's going to be a 2-test series. And that's such a shame because, India and South Africa.
That's like that 2014 series. No, it was also 2 tests.
Yeah, I mean, ideally, India and South Africa, I feel, should at least play 3. But anyway, so India don't play test cricket for a while now. So that's also going to be interesting to, when they go to South Africa, who they pick as their bowling attack, and when they go and then England come home, which I'm imagining will be largely a spin-dominated series. Let's see how that goes.
Oh no! Wait! We cannot ignore this, man. It's just I understand Ashes and all. Okay, India going to West Indies, winning their 6th time in West Indies. Only Australia have beaten West Indies and West Indies more times than India now. Australia have beaten West Indies and West Indies 7 times, and India have now done it 6 times. So that's all momentous. But the most important cricketing event of the month of July is that Jasprit Bumrah started bowling again.
Yeah. Oh, okay. I thought you were saying the most important event of this test match, which was, of course, that 81 all-out documentary that West Indies cricket showed in the break of one of the days, which is the most important part. They didn't mention this podcast, man. How ridiculous is that? But anyway, glad that Ian Bishop and Curtly Ambrose wound the clock back to that test match and told the kids these days, #kids about how it was when India got 81 all out. Anyway, on that note, thank you for joining the podcast. Thank you for supporting us. We are at 81 All Out on Twitter. 81allout.com is our website. We are on Coffee. That's ko-fi.com/81allout. Thanks a lot to all those who have been contributing there generously, and really means a lot to us to have you chip in. We also are in the book republishing space. The Summer Game by Gideon Hay was our latest, and I'll put out links to the books that we have put out. War Minus the Shooting by Mike Marquesi and Cricket Beyond the Bazaar by Mike Coward were the other two. So we will actually join you in a week or 10 days time, hopefully to talk about baseball, the Ashes, and everything in between. We will also have other podcasts along the way, in the next few weeks/months, and timeless podcasts, talking to people, interviews, etc., etc. And thank you, and have a good day.
India have won the series. They're going to get back for two. India home. Lords goes wide.